is joining.
Hi, Anjali. You're saying something?
I said, if no one joins, then we'll cancel it, no?
No, no, no. Let's continue. Whether people are joining or not joining, it's fine.
Okay.
Let's continue. Let's respect people who have joined. Uh-huh. Let me share my screen. Okay, good morning, everyone. Today we are entering to the day 5 of our ongoing book, Surrounded by Idiots. In last 4 days, we have read so many things about the different four colors and how these four colors characters and how they express and how they share emotions. All those things we have read detailed in each colors and each category. Now, today we are entering to the eighth chapter. From this chapter, we are getting into how we can interact with the different colors and how they express each other and the combinations, conflicts, and communications, and all those things. How it is interact, how it is happening when the particular color people they are interacting with other colors, and also the same color how it is works. So we are getting into deep in this chapter. Who gets along with whom? Okay, we can start reading now. I will start with few pages. Please type your name and then we can continue further. Chapter 8, no one is completely perfect. Strengths and weakness. As the title of this book suggests, there are individuals around us who, under less favorable circumstances, we may find challenging to understand. One moment. Yeah, dear. Okay. As the title of this book suggests, there are individuals around us who, under less favorable circumstances, we may find challenging to understand. There are others we don't understand at all, no matter what the situation is. And the most difficult to interact with are those who are not like us because they obviously behave incorrectly. The differences begin to become clear. You can see the general differences among the different colors. The illustration on page 63 shows an example of how they differ. Some people are issue oriented and others are relationship oriented, while two of them are quick to act. The greens and blues are reflective. This is often the source of everyday misunderstandings, both large and small. I will come back to this page I will come back to this on page 193, but I would like to take this opportunity to provide some nuances to the illustration of the different core behavior patterns that each color represents. I'm not saying that you would call people idiots like Stu, who opened my eyes at the beginning of this book. However, in all honesty, all of us, on occasion, have just stood there unable to comprehend a comment we have heard or watched someone behave in way that is diametrically opposed to how we would have behaved, and so we believe that they are idiots. So the task oriented, and issue oriented. You can see that x-axis extrovert, active, implementer, and introvert, passive, reserved, red, yellow, green, blue in the order. Relation oriented. This reasoning assumes that I'm always right, which of course means that the other person and their form of behavior is automatically wrong. It's a tricky question. A wise person once said that just because you were right, I don't have to be wrong. A wise person once said that just because you are right, I don't have to be wrong. Very nice one. We also tend to pay special attention to the faults and shortcomings of others. Child psychologists have argued that the things we find most shocking in the behavior of our children are the things we recognize in ourselves but wish we didn't do. So, who decides what kind of behavior is right and wrong? Time for the real cliche. On the other hand, no one is perfect. There you go, a real platitude. But really, there are no perfect human beings. No one is without faults or shortcomings. In my youth, I was constantly looking for a role model who could become my mentor in life. That person, a man or woman, completely free from shortcomings. But I never found one. I still haven't seen any trace of this elusive perfect human. And of course, that's the way it is. We live with our shortcomings and make the best of things. On the other hand, when we think someone is an idiot, is it really because of their faults and shortcomings, or have we failed to understand them? An attribute that may be useful in some situation is unsuitable in others. It's important to remember that communication usually takes place on the recipient's terms. Whatever people's judgment of me may be, that is the way they perceive me, regardless of what I really mean or intended. As always, it's all about self awareness. Good qualities can become drawbacks in the wrong circumstances, no matter what the quality is. Good qualities can become drawbacks in the wrong circumstances, no matter what the quality is. Quick review of core behavior patterns. A short. Uh, Reds are quick and more than happy to take command if needed. They make things happen. However, when they get going, they become control freaks and can be hopeless to deal with. And they repeatedly trample on people's toes. Yellow can be amusing, creative, and elevate the mood regardless of who they are with. However, when they are given unlimited space, they will consume all the oxygens in the room. They won't allow anyone into a conversation, and their stories will reflect really less and less. So, it will reflect reality less and less. The friendly greens are easy to hang out with because they are so pleasant and genuinely care for others. Unfortunately, they can be too wishy washy and unclear. Anyone who never takes a stand eventually becomes difficult to handle. You don't know where they really stand, and indecision kills the energy in other people. The analytical blues are calm, level headed, and think before they speak. Their ability to keep a cool head is undoubtedly an enviable quality for all who are not capable of doing that. However, blues critical thinking can easily turn to suspicion and questioning those around them. Everything can become suspect and sinister. In the following sections, I deal with how people might perceive the weakness of certain behavior patterns. Naturally, this is a sensitive area and can be easily misunderstood. When I coach individuals, this is usually where things can get messy. So be aware that be aware that that much is in the eye of the beholder. Who is right and who is wrong? The behavior patterns I am talking about are described as other people may perceive them, even if the intention of the person who just made a fool of himself might have been completely different. One thing I know for sure regarding the different colors is that each color evaluates themselves in different ways. Reds and yellows tend to inflate their strengths and believe that they have no weakness. They have powerful egos, and a great part of the success can probably be attributed to the fact that they don't get bogged down in faults and shortcomings, but instead look for opportunities and good news. Clearly, this can't be maintained over time. Conversely, greens and blues usually exaggerate their weakness and, in certain cases, even ignore their strengths. The consequences are clear. When you give positive feedback to a green or blue, they sometimes appear to be immune to it and change the subject to something that went seriously wrong. Obviously, this is highly unproductive. Well, are we ready to go? Okay, now I may hand over the session to someone who would like to read next. Okay, let me see the
I'll take
chat
it,
session.
Rajesh.
Yeah, Anjali, over to you.
How red people are perceived. If you ask other people about Reds, you might get a different picture from the one the Red gives of himself. What a surprise! My own private research shows that Reds are surrounded by more idiots than the rest of us. Many people will agree with what you have read up to now about Reds, but I have also heard other comments. Usually, they express this when the Red is not in the room because they are afraid of this fiery temper. You have heard him say that he wants to hear the truth. Over the years, he is bellowed into our ears, say what you think. But as soon as you do, you find yourself in the middle of a heated discussion with an angry red. This means that what you are going to read now will often be completely new for many reds. Not many of us have ever been able to make these points to a red before. It takes way too much energy. Some people say that Reds are just belligerent, arrogant and egoistical. Sorry. They are perceived as unyielding, impatient, aggressive, and controlling. I don't think this is necessarily I don't think this is necessarily correct, but I have even heard people speak about people with red behavior as dictatorial, tyrannical. Suddenly, the picture isn't as flattering. The born leader reveals his blemished side. First of all, let me say this. Nothing said previously would necessarily bother a red because he is more task oriented than relationship oriented. Besides, everyone else is wrong. But let's see what everyone else has to say. Why does everything take so long? Can't you speed things up a bit? Well, what can I say? A person willing to step outside any regulatory framework to get ahead is nothing if not impatient. When the usual official channels take too long, a red will scale over a few levels of decision makers and expeditiously look for the person who really calls the shots. The first example that comes to mind was the traffic in my beautiful capital city. Sure, many locals are in more of a hurry than the national average when they sit behind the wheel. There are statistics about this. But since we are talking about red behavior, I would like to tell you about a colleague I had a few years ago. Born, I used a car as our principal means of transport in and around the city. It simply took too long to use public transport. Bond lost his license every so often because of his somewhat liberal approach to speed limits. He lived far outside the city, and the journey into the office about 20 miles away could take about 40 minutes. That was on a good day. It could just as easily take an hour and a half. Bond rarely felt the need to adjust his driving according to the flow of traffic. His opinion was that there was no reason for him to follow every single traffic rule. The posted speed limits here and there, 50, 60, and so on, they were mostly recommendations. They didn't apply to him. They were there for people who didn't really know how to drive a car. On one occasion, I was sitting in the office with a few colleagues having a cup of coffee, discussing the rather serious traffic situation. It felt as if the city was on the verge of a traffic infraction. Bond didn't know what we were talking about. He wasn't aware of the problem at all. On the contrary, he felt that the traffic hadn't been bad lately. When we questioned him a bit more, it turned out that he usually drove in the bus lane all the way for over 20 miles. It was so much quicker that way. Vaughan even maintained that this was okay. You could even get a permit for the bus lane. That's what he did, and it cost him about $140 a month. About every 4 weeks, the police stopped him, but it was worth it. Just imagine how much time he saved, and all it cost him was the fines. He felt it was a good deal. This story illustrates quite clearly how red behavior works. They know just as well as everyone else that it's wrong to break the rules. However, since it's quicker that way, they do it anyway. Reds are notorious rule breakers. Once again, I would like to remind you of their intentions to get the job done. Reds have no problem taking one or two shortcuts as long as it's about getting things done. With such a generous approach to regulations and rules, you will definitely arrive faster. I would even say that a red is often so fast that if something were to go wrong, he would still manage to redo the project. At the same time, no one else ever really knows what's going to happen. I'm not screaming. I'm not angry. Err. Because the way Reds communicate is so blunt and so direct, many perceive them as aggressive. This is logical, but at the same time, this perception varies depending on who becomes the victim of the Reds' forceful points of view. For instance, in Sweden, it's not acceptable to behave in the kind of confrontational manner that would be fine in Germany or France. I'm not saying that people quarrel more in these countries, but that they have a slightly different approach to conflicts. Just imagine, in many workplaces, people are encouraged to be candid and have open communication. What does this really mean? It's easy to interpret it as meaning we should all be honest with one another and just say whatever we think, right? We want to have open and forthright dialogue. That's excellent. For any organization to be efficient, it's necessary to have straightforward communication about things that are important. So, who excels at frank communication and can receive the same without getting cranky? Answer: no one. Besides Reds, of course. For them, this is a non issue. Why are we even talking about communication? It's obvious that you say what you think. Many people find this stressful. To constantly have the truth pushed into your face can be onerous if you have difficulty taking it. My goal here isn't to define what's right or wrong. I only want to establish that all of us are different. So, why do we sometimes perceive red behavior as threatening and belligerent? Could it be that they don't give up right away? That they like to argue and debate even small matters if they find them important? That they'll raise their voices, glare daggers at people, and pound their fist on the table if it suits them? That sometimes they express themselves rather rudely? Imagine the following scenario. You have a project, something that you have spent a few days on, or maybe even weeks. You begin to doubt yourself. Have you succeeded at your work? Is it as good as you wanted it to be? Would you dare show it to the client as it is now, or should you ask for some feedback from someone who you know will give you an honest answer? Just then a red comes sauntering by and you take a chance. You are fully aware that this colleague, spouse, friend, cousin, neighbor will be honest. You ask for a frank opinion. With a degree of pride in your voice, you show him what you have accomplished and you go through your process step by step. Without you noticing, the red becomes impatient because he's already decided what his opinion is and he's getting tired of you doing all the talking for so long. With a wave of his hand that efficiently silences you, the red says, "It doesn't look that good. I don't really like what you have done here. In fact, it looks pretty rough. I'm amazed that you didn't do better than this. I think you have to redo the whole thing from start to finish." Then he leaves without thinking any more about it. You are left there feeling forlorn and crushed, regardless of what color you are. Exaggerated? Can this happen in real life? At this stage, if you believe that such nasty people don't really exist, then you have never met a genuine red. Other reds you have met have essentially learned how to be dishonest. Think about it. What's the purpose of cutting a person down to size so completely? What were the Red's intentions? It was to do exactly what you asked. You wanted an honest opinion. Say exactly what you think, you said. It's possibly possible you even added, "I won't be angry, sad, disappointed, suicidal." Be prepared, says the Red. Because here it comes. By asking for an honest opinion, you released a flood of brutal candor. But you'll survive, perhaps with your self confidence a little waterlogged and your ego utterly drowned. As a consultant, I have explained countless times that when a red goes all out on an issue that's important to him, an issue on which he does not intend to give up, well, the storm will be brutal. If you are afraid of conflict, then you shouldn't put yourself in that situation. A red has no problem with conflict. Reds don't consciously create conflict, but a refreshing quarrel every now and then can be a good thing, don't you think? It's just another way to communicate. A little tip. The worst thing you can do once you get into a conflict with a red is back off. That tactic can cause you serious problems. More on that later. What are you doing over there? I can see what you are not doing. What's behind the need to control? Simply put, the desire for control is a phenomenon where an individual needs to have power over a situation in which either groups or individuals are present. Those who have control needs often feel extremely uneasy about having to adapt themselves to a group or a situation and will eagerly come up with sorry, various strategies to avoid this. A common form of behavior is to talk constantly, interrupting and ignoring others in order to maintain control over the conversation. Reds can probably be perceived as extremely overbearing, but it's important to note they are interested in controlling those around them, but not in controlling every specific detail of a situation. Attention to or control over detail isn't something we can accuse Reds of, but it is important for a Red to feel that he can influence what people do and how they intend to act on certain specific issues. At the heart of this need for control is a belief that they know more than anyone else, and because a Red feels he knows best, he will keep tabs on everyone around him to ensure that they all do the right thing. The advantage for a red is that he gets everything done his way. The disadvantage is obvious. Everyone else feels controlled, but some people think it's a good thing when someone else makes the decision and holds the baton, but others feel limited and just want to escape. Suman, you can take from here.
Yeah, thank you. Many years ago, I worked for a company in which one of the middle managers was quite red. She was also a bit blue. See the section on blue behavior. When she delegated tasks to the employees, the effect was quite amusing. She usually had no problem relinquishing certain things. She was even good at delegating enjoyable tasks, something many executives can find difficult. However, since she was red, she was very quick in thought and action. In practice, this meant that she hung around after she had delegated a specific task. And if the task was not done immediately, she would simply go and do it herself. When the employee in question got to that item on his to do list, he often discovered that it had already been done, not the deadline had not been reached yet. Because this middle manager was red blue, she did a much better job than the what the employee would have had he been given the chance. Red means fast, blue means high quality in implementation. Unfortunately, criticism of the employee's sluggishness was not slow in coming, as the blue part of this manager was precise with the details and the red part gave criticism very readily. She was perceived as quite rigid, which brings us on to the next section. I try to care about you, but it would help if you were a little more interesting. Have you ever met a person completely without feelings? No, I thought so. Once again, Reds are not typical relational people. Nothing wrong with that, as long as the person you are communicating with has the same focus as you. But if a red speaks to a pronounced relational person like a yellow or a green, he can be perceived as very cold hearted or inhuman. Let me illustrate this with an example from my own personal experience. I had a colleague whom I always appreciated very much. Notice that I start with the positives to avoid ruffling feathers, very Swedish of me, and still have great respect for as a professional but also as a good friend. Okay, it is the infamous John again. A few years ago, we were having a tough period in the company. Fall had been a difficult and strenuous time. Long days, late nights, and frequent weekend work. We had worn ourselves out. We had worn one another out. And we had worn out our respective families. We were on our knees. We really deserved a quiet and restful holiday season. For the company holiday party, we went to a Japanese restaurant. We had taken our shoes off and were sitting on cushions, each holding a glass of sake in his hands. In typical Swedish fashion, we looked at the menus while at the same time keeping an eye on what the others were thinking of ordering. Of course, most of us didn't want to order something that no one else chose. Except for John, he glanced quickly through the menu and declared what he had in mind. He was ready now and quickly grew wary of those of us who had not decided yet. Needing something to do, he started a conversation. At the same time, my daughter had just changed schools and John was inquisitive. How did everything go with the new school? How the little lazy doing? Pleasantly surprised by his concern for my daughter, I started to tell him. After about 20 seconds, I noted that John's eyes began to wander. He looked around the restaurant with a facial expression that said, "Why is he telling me this?" He looked at me with a smile, and I interpreted as, "You know me. You know how I function. I don't actually want to talk any more about that." And he quickly began talking about something completely different. Ordinarily, I should have been a little bit offended, maybe even insulted. How can anyone be so insensitive, especially when the other person is talking about something that he himself inquired about? Does this mean that John is cold hearted or that he cares nothing for other people? Not at all. He cares just as much as anyone else. But when he realized that everything was fine with my daughter, he simply lost interest. In usual fashion, he announced that the channel of communication was closed. Instead of sitting there hemming and hawing, pretending to be interested in more or less meaningless details, he said exactly what he felt. Remember that we are talking about interpretations and perceptions here. The intention behind a particular behavior is one thing. How we as recipients perceive it is another. Personally, I just wanted to laugh the whole thing off because I knew John very well. I knew that he would never dream of hurting anyone deliberately. When he trample when he tramples on people's toes from time to time, it is ever intentional. It just happens. In reality, he is one of the warmest and most generous people I have ever met. It is just that you have to know him to understand this. What would have been the correct answer to Joan's question about my daughter? Great. It would have been enough. It takes strength to be alone, and I am the strongest of you all. The word egoistic comes from the Latin word ego, meaning I. My I is therefore my ego. Linguistically, we have consequently chosen to put some kind of equal sign between people with strong egos and being selfish. Naturally, there are many people in our world who are selfish and egotistical. The world is teeming with them. Again, I want you to remember that we are speaking here about perceived behavior. If we look at how a rat communicates, we can understand why many perceive him as egotistic. I think we should accept this proposal. I want this assignment. This is what I think about it. I have a good idea. Will we do this my way or the wrong way? And a sharp eye and distinctive body language, and you will see someone who will take what he wants. He will fight for his interests. He will tell everyone who will listen that he is capable of doing whatever he undertakes. Some people, especially Greens, find this find that this I form of speaking is unsettling. A red's I message occupies their minds. They share this trait with yellows, who also have strong egos. But we have learned to take care of one another. We know that being solitary is not the same thing as being strong, that we need one another to survive. Cooperation is the model, and I have preached this for over two preached this for over 2 decades. So we think it is egotistic when Reds speak only about themselves. They make sure to help themselves before helping others. They are often willing to trample on someone else if they see an opportunity to advance themselves. They may not do this consciously, but the effect is the same. Reds often come out the winners in discussions. They see this as a natural part of their conversation. They always know best and will assert that everyone else is wrong. It suits their ego to behave this way. The aftermath of this method is that they lose friends. People can dislike them and they are cut off from information because no one wants them in the group. Once they have noticed this, they may well just decide that all the other people are idiots. A few years ago, I was one of the 6 people who was seated at the table having an evening meal. In some anguish, a man, green blue, told me he was not feeling well. He could not live up to the responsibilities his employer laid on his shoulders. He was hard pressed by his burdensome workload, and he found it difficult to sleep at night. This caused even more stress for him because he knew that if he didn't get a good night's rest, it would be even harder for him to perform at work. His wife, sitting beside him, tried to hide her discomfort. The situation was certainly not comfortable for anyone in the room. Everyone at the table offered encouraging remarks along with cautious questions about how he thought he might be able to reverse the difficult situation. We all expressed our support as far as we could, except for the red. After 10 minutes, the only red at the table finally had enough and tore into the distraught, stressed out little devil. The Red's analysis was as clear as day. I think you complain too much. You are just earning your salary. I have never been sick, and I think people worry too much. I would never end up in your situation, and I really think you should pull yourself together. What a dinner that was. Let's be honest. Reds are the ones who always believe they are surrounded by idiots.
Thank you, Suman. Thank you, Suman, for the leading, and thank you, Anjali, for being part of today's leading. Yes, with this, so far we have covered that the red people, how the red people perceived, and then the next one goes. This chapter is a little longer, and the next one it goes deep into that the yellow. As we have no time, as we don't have much time, we can stop reading for today's reading part. Let's discuss about whatever we have read so far today. Is it okay? Hi,
Yes, yes.
super. Mm, okay, all right. Let me stop sharing. Okay, today we read detail about the how red behaves, uh, and when the red people are in the particular group or in the places, how they react for the situations and how they handle other things. I like that the story which he explained about in the dinner while having a dinner with everyone. How when someone sharing about that his daughters the changing of the school, how the red behavior reacts. If there is no problem, I think if they don't find any problem to solve, or if there is something to be interesting to listen and take action, the people are they are not interested. I like the part the author he has explained. Anyone would like to share any comments on that the particular part or any part which you have read today? Something interesting.
Yes, it's about the dinner table. So from here, my takeaway is that sometimes if we are aware about the colors, emotions everybody have, but if we know that red speaks bluntly, then we can generally I want to say that we all are either feeling or expressing. When we are having a discussion, sometimes we feel that the other person is talking nonsensible and it's not necessary to express. We are feeling but we are not expressing, but the red color is expressing. So just about being aware of the colors, a certain understanding can be developed that we have that person is right. We may not take him wrong every time.
Yeah, but this is only happens if you know or if you understand, okay, this is
Yes,
the
yes,
way
yes.
the person behaves, or this is the way the person behaves. If you are expecting, by example, I think if you are looking for some support in that same situation, I think how the person felt when he was expressing about his daughter, but his reaction or his comments were not happy with that person. The person is not willing to share something empathy or something, or not to knowing something more about it. um, have you felt, I think, do you have any experience or the personal experience if you try something to say but that the person someone they stop you or they hurt your ego or they hurt your emotions? Would you like to share any personal experiences which we have read today?
Yes, many times we are surrounded by such relatives that we want to express something, but they talk their own, they are on and on. And your question was that, please repeat
Your
your question.
experience, no, no, your experience with such things, I think you want to, you are expressing something emotions and empathy something, but the person if that's the right person expressed, hey, the person is hurting, I think the person is not understanding what you're trying to say, and the person is dominant with the situations, hey, I think nothing else, or he is not bothered about listening you. Such situation have you come across?
Yes, yes, this happened many times.
Mm-hmm.
Many people just think what is going on in their minds. They are not they are not ready to understand others. It happens, of course,
Yeah,
yes.
I think in the author, in this book, he has mentioned that when someone expressing, it is not that the person is doing something purposeful. What we expect, by example, if you are the person is that uh, uh, green or blue or someone, the person is not understanding, the right person is not understanding, we take it as very emotions. We take it as a high or we take it as a wrong. Okay, the person is not understanding much. Uh, that creates some negative impression or a negative feeling. But author is completely okay with that. They are the way they behave. That situation or the environment will be smoother or the environment will be the better way only if we understand, okay, this is the person or this is the person's behavior. I don't want to take it something personally. I don't want to take it something wrong. That's okay. I think I can accept it. This happens when you come to that maturity level of understanding people.
Yes, very
Anyone?
true.
Yeah. Anyone would like to share your thoughts about it?
Yes, good morning to all.
Yep.
Yes, in short, I can tell that this red people, they don't like any kind of sugar coating messages. So, I mean, we need to get adapted to each and every personality to maintain proper interpersonal relationships. So, in if any red personality comes out, it's better we talk straightforward to them, and whatever the instructions are there, it's better to give them in a straight way than handling them with a lot of emotions and sugar coating and all that. So yeah, they may not have empathy, and at the same time they also don't expect much of empathy from us as well. So in order to maintain proper relationship with them, it's better to talk to the point and then make the things done. So if you exceed your limits also, that cannot be taken by the red personality. Mm, this is what I learned from this. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Pranavi, for sharing your thoughts. Anyone would like to share? Or do we have anyone, the red persons in this meeting room? Hey, that's how I react. Sometimes when people are coming up with something, the silly things, if I don't have anything to share, or if I don't need to apply any action, the solution, I'm least bothered about listening or getting deep into the conversations. Do we have any such person?
Rishi, what I feel, we all are amalgam of all colors.
Of course, I
Just to,
agree.
yeah, or one may be dominant. Otherwise,
Mm,
in many situations, we react differently.
yeah.
But then if we try to keep reading this kind of stuff, we would definitely be aware ki which personality would be dominant within us. Uh,
Mm,
the best example is when my daughter was handling a call with her friend. She was, in fact, my daughter was in deep pain. So that girl was trying to express something else. And this girl was telling all the pain to her without thinking ki what the opposite person is and in which frequency she is. And after keeping the phone down, maybe after 1 or 2 days, I told her that this is a thing going on in you. They will not ignore you right now, but then later, relations wise or the intimacy wise, they may lose you. So it's better you be aware of it. So if we start telling to our kids also the same way, they would be aware that how far they are empathetic to the opposite person. And in fact, as we learn, we will also start observing the people around us, how far they are aware of it. So even that observation will improve us a lot, I guess. Yeah, thank you.
thanks, Pranavi, for sharing the personal experience
Yeah,
with your daughter.
yeah.
Of course, when we share, I think when we have some problem, talk, we call someone we loved ones and express, I think, pour out what are the problems we have. But we express this, and the same times we also expect the consoles or that empathy and all those things. When the opposite person is not deserve or the person is not willing to share or they're not able to communicate the effectively the understanding situation, then we may get the person who expressed the problems, we may feel offended. Hey, I'm sharing my problem, but the person is not willing to share something. He's sharing some solution or something else. That also happens. I think when we go and express, we also understand, okay, whom we are going to interact and what kind of things I'm going to get it. If you decide, okay, if you understand the people characters or if the people color, then we can figure it out. Okay, I can reach out to this person for this problem. If I'm looking for some solution, okay, I can go and take to this problem. If I need something empathy, I can go and talk to this person. Hey, I need some fun, I can go and okay, this person make me. I think the person, the yellow person. If I go and reach out to this person will make me to forget whatever the problem I have, and the person try to change situations. That's awareness will come. I think that is one major learning from this book when we are reading. He talks about, I think, till yesterday we have talked about the entire detail about each color. From today onwards, we are going to deep into this one, from which color, how they are going to interact with others. For example, now today we have red color, how they are going to interact with the yellow. The yellow is always they are energetic and chaotic, but the here if the red is going to interact with the yellow, both are very high energy, and both are very action oriented. But here, the red looking for the result, and yellow they want to have fun or they want to have entertain something. So here, when they are connecting each other, red may feel, hey, this yellow is disorganized. I think the person is not having any serious things about the problem and always having a fun. That's something the yellow also behave this in that way. When the red is going to interact with the green, the green appears very calm and the person is very loyalty kind of. In this way, when the red approaches the green, the red feels frustrated. Why this person is not listening me? Why the person is not understanding me? That is something action required. That is what we have to take something. But the green reacts. It's okay. Let me take some time. And that's what I think. The different, green behave in a different way. Same. The red is going when they interacting with the blue. Here, the logic and speed. If you go and talk to that the blue person, the person is coming with that I need a proof, I need the detailed informations, I need something, I want to analysis. But the red doesn't have that much patience enough to explain all those things. They want to have listen thing and give me solutions. But the blue is something different. It will take some time to understand the situations. Only then they take actions. So when we understand, when we are reading this book, when we understand, we can realize, okay, whom I can react and how I can change my behaviors and change my communications to get a better understanding and having a better relationship with the persons with the organizations. Yeah, this is what that the, the short summary of today, whatever we have read. Anyone would like to have any closing thoughts?
I'm feeling like colors also are like zodiac signs that which are
Okay,
compatible to each other. Yeah.
of course.
I
I think
think
I.
this whole concept is coined in one word,
Mm-hmm,
that is emotional intelligence.
mm-hmm,
Usually, before reading this book, I used to think that why people have to change their colors and go according to the opposite's personality. But then it's mandatory that we need to get adapted to the opposite person's personality. And there itself lies the intelligence of a person. There, indirectly or directly, you will be knowing how to handle your emotions and also understand the opposite person. So the moment you change your colors according to the opposite personality, it's a sign that you are improving your emotional intelligent quotient as well. So yeah, that's the thing I learned.
yeah.
Yeah, very true. This book will make us wise enough emotionally and how to deal with others.
Yeah. Thank you, Suman. Thank you, Pranavi, for your sharings for today's sessions. With
Yes,
this, we
thank you
come
all.
to yeah, we come to end of today's meeting. I think we are closing 2 minutes before that our scheduled time. I have again one humble request to everyone. Please you start join the meeting today sharp at tomorrow sharp at 7 a.m. so that you can understand be the complete reading of the particular chapter and you will have a better takeaway from this one. Thank you. See you all tomorrow morning once again at our
Thank
reading
Yeah,
you.
session.
thank you,
Yeah.
Rajesh, and thank you all who have helped me for
Thank you,
today.
everyone. Yeah,
Have a nice day.
thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Wonderful day. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.